Welcome to Data Engineers Academy. In this video, we are going to learn how to implement zero-copy data sharing between two Snowflake accounts. We will use one account as the provider account and another account as the consumer account. The provider will create sample sales data and share it with the consumer without physically copying the data. We will also test the sharing by adding new data in the provider account and checking whether it is available in the consumer account. Let's get started. First, open the provider Snowflake account. The provider account is the account that owns the original data. We will start by creating a database called sales_db. For this operation, we use the create database command. After creating the database, we will create a sales table inside the public schema. For this operation, we use the create table command and define columns for sale ID, customer name, product, and amount. Next, we need some sample data. We use the insert into command to insert 4 sample sales records into the table. After inserting the data, we use a select query to verify that the records were inserted successfully. At this point, our provider account contains the original sales data. Create a Snowflake share. Now we need to create a share. A share is used to provide controlled access to data for another Snowflake account. For this operation, we use the create share command and create a share called sales_share. After creating the share, we use the show shares command to verify that the share was created successfully. Give permissions to the share. Now we need to tell Snowflake which data can be accessed through this share. First, we give the share usage permission on the sales_db database. For this operation, we use the grant usage command. Next, we give the share usage permission on the public schema. Again, we use the grant usage command for the schema. Finally, we give the share permission to read the sales table. For this, we use the grant select command. This means the consumer can read the shared table, but the provider still owns and controls the original data. We can use the show grants command to verify all permissions assigned to the share. Now, add the consumer account. Now we need to give the consumer account access to our share. First, open the consumer Snowflake account. We use the current_account function to find the consumer account identifier. For example, suppose Snowflake gives us an account identifier such as ABC12345. Now we return to the provider account. Here, we use the alter share command with the add accounts option to add the consumer account to our share. We replace the example account identifier with the actual consumer account identifier. Now the consumer account has access to the share. Open the consumer account. Now let's switch back to the consumer Snowflake account. We use the show shares command to check the incoming shares. The provider's share should now be visible in the consumer account. At this point, the consumer can see that another Snowflake account has shared data with it. Now, get the provider account identifier. Before creating the shared database, we need the provider account identifier. So, we go back to the provider account. We use the current_account function to get the provider account identifier. For example, suppose the provider account identifier is XYZ98765. We will use this identifier when creating the database from the share. Now, create the shared database. Now return to the consumer account. The consumer does not need to manually create the original sales_db. Instead, we create a new database from the share. For this operation, we use the create database from share command. We can name the consumer database shared_sales_db. The command uses the provider account identifier and the share name. This creates a database in the consumer account that provides access to the shared data. The important point is that we are not creating a physical copy of the provider's database. Let's verify the shared database. Now we need to verify that the database was created successfully. For this, we use the show databases command. We should see shared_sales_db in the consumer account. Next, we use the show tables command to check the tables inside the shared database. We should see the sales table. Now, query the shared data. Now we can access the shared data. We use a select query to read the sales table from the shared database. The consumer should see the same sales records that were created in the provider account. This demonstrates that the consumer can access the provider's data through the share. There was no need to download a CSV file, upload the data again, or create a separate physical copy of the table. Now let's test the most important part of this use case. Go back to the provider account. We will add one more sales record. For this operation, we use the insert into command. After adding the new record, switch back to the consumer account. Now we use a select query on the shared sales table. The new record should now be available to the consumer. This demonstrates the benefit of Snowflake's data sharing architecture. The provider maintains the original data, while the consumer can access the shared data without creating a separate physical copy. Finally, let's see how the provider can stop sharing the table. To remove the table's access from the share, we use the revoke select command. The provider can also completely remove the consumer account from the share. For this operation, we use the alter share command with the remove accounts option. This allows the provider to maintain control over who can access the shared data. Conclusion. So, in this video, we learned how to implement zero-copy data sharing in Snowflake. The key benefit is that the data can be shared securely without physically copying the underlying data. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more.